Hey folks, Andy here, thanks for joining me. Right, a couple of 3 weeks ago I made a video about this guitar. It was just a YouTube short, and it was about the fact that the springs in the back of this guitar are incredibly clearly resonant. Now, anyone who has got or has played a guitar with a balanced trem that uses this sort of spring setup will hear this to some degree, but on this guitar it was very, very clear. The sort of reverberant resonance frequency that you hear ringing out long after the strings are muted, coming from the springs in the back of the guitar. So the thought occurred to me that whilst it's by no means a perfect analogy, the whole Tonewood debate is really centred on what effect things other than the pickups and strings have on the sound of a guitar. And when you think about it, what that really comes down to is how much energy is being absorbed from when you excite, when you play the strings, how much is being absorbed by the body, and what effect that has on the sound of the guitar as you hear it in the room just acoustically, but also what do you get coming out through the output jack? What do you get coming out through the amplifier? Now again, this is one of those things that if you've played a guitar like this that's got a clear tone to it, you already know the answer, but just in case you don't, I thought we'll give it a go. So what I've done is I've set up my trusty portable recorder pointing at the bridge like I did in that video short, which will just pick up the sound in the room. And then I have taken a DI from the guitar straight into an audio interface. So there is nothing going on with speakers and amps in the room to affect the sound of the acoustic recording. And we're going to have a listen and see what the kind of overhang on the sound from the acoustic angle is like, and also what we've got through the output. So let's give that a go. So there you go. Very clearly in this case you can hear the effect of those springs on the sound of the guitar from the output as well as acoustically. Now, yep, it's kind of obvious that you've got springs which are attached to the bridge block, which are attached to the plate on the top, which go through the saddles, the strings. It's all very direct and it's very loud and noticeable. But when you think about it, all that's happening is that the energy that you put in when you hit the strings, when you excite the strings, some of that energy is going into making the string vibrate, which is being picked up by the pickups, and some of it is being kind of sucked out of the system by, in this case, the springs, but also the bodywood. When you hit a chord, when you go and you put your fingers on the guitar, you can, to a greater or lesser extent, depending on what your guitar is made out of, you can feel that vibration in your fingertips. That vibration is energy which is coming out of the strings, which is changing how they ring out over a period of time. It is, of course, also going to be microscopically moving the pickups because they're part of the vibrating system as well. So whilst it's not perfect, I mean, it's very, very imperfect, I think it is probably fair to say that the argument about Tonewoods has to go along this general lines. The material that your guitar, that the system that your strings are spread over, has got to make a difference to the sound that you're hearing. When I was in school, we did experiments with wires stretched over blocks of concrete, blocks of wood, and yeah, you could absolutely feel the difference. You know, a block of concrete kind of sits there and does nothing when you pluck a string over it. A block of a long piece of light wood vibrates all over the place, and if you put a pickup and an oscilloscope on that, you will see the difference in the vibration of the string. It's not as easy as you'd hope it would be, but then we were a bunch of kids in a school lab doing this stuff. So yeah, the simple fact is that what you make your guitar out of is going to affect the vibration of the strings. Now, the question, of course, comes in, is it really worth paying an extra £6 on your guitar for that quadruple A flamed maple top on top of a piece of mahogany from a tree that was cut down 300 years ago and illegally smuggled out of a small Pacific island up someone's backside? And the answer is no, I don't honestly think it is. I think that there's a measurable difference, but I'm not sure I'm convinced that there is really a hearable difference. I think we like Tonewoods, we like the idea of Tonewoods because I think they make us feel that there's something special about us as guitar players, that we're more discerning than the average Joe in the street. A bit like people who know about wine, love knowing about wine. Well, we love this stuff and we love being more refined. But when it comes down to it, I actually do not think it makes a predictable difference, which means I think that the whole argument about buying super expensive Tonewoods in electric instruments is probably a bit of a crock. And I'll just finish by saying this. I have got a Les Paul, which is a nice old piece of mahogany with a nice old maple top on it. I've got a Telecaster, which is made out of swamp ash. But a mate of mine many years ago had an Aria, I'm going to say a Pro 2, but I might be wrong about that, with a plywood body. And that guitar sounded absolutely great despite a plywood body. You cannot, I maintain, predict what a guitar is going to do from the spec of the woods that go into it. And as a little sort of aside on this, I'm just going to throw in a gentleman by the name of Bill Purplett, who built my Strat, told me that once upon a time he had a vintage Strat come in for some work, and the neck angle was shimmed with an old, like a card out of a packet of cigarettes, folded over and wedged in there. So Bill, being the meticulous craftsman he was, took that out and he cut a piece of hard maple to the exact size that was needed. He wedged it, so cut it into a wedge shape so that it touched all the way through the neck pocket and the back of the neck, put it in, he said, and it sounded nowhere near as good as the bit of cardboard he took out. So he put the cardboard back in, tightened everything up, and it went back exactly like that. So can you predict it? No, you can't. Is it worth spending a fortune on Tonewoods? No, it isn't. Do having shaky vibratory things built into your guitar make a difference to the sound that you get out of it? Yep, absolutely they do. What do you do with this? Don't know, it's up to you. But if this stuff's useful or even entertaining, maybe give us a thumbs up, hit subscribe, that's always good. So look after yourselves. I'll see you next time out on Monday Picker. Until then, bye.